Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.
Welcome to episode 118 of the Highly Relevant Podcast, a U.S. Latino show where I interview the people and discuss the moments that are shaping our American and Latino pop culture. Well, on this week's show, Mike Sargent, good friend of the show, and I give you our first reaction from inside the theater of the first New York press screening of the new X-Men film, Dark Phoenix. Then I interview Marquis Rodriguez. In case you don't know who he is, you will know his name because he's not only one of the 5 young actors in Netflix's new controversial miniseries, When They See Us, from director Ava DuVernay, but he's also going to be in HBO's Game of Thrones prequel, which is currently filming in Europe right now, and I'll be talking to him from the set. And of course, I gotta ask him about the show, so you know I'm gonna be going there. By the way, not sure what you're doing this weekend, but there's a good reason to stay in. Here, let me explain. There's a lot of great TV, and I think my eyes are gonna literally fall off with so much TV this weekend. I mean, you got the Women's World Cup, you got the NBA Finals Game 4, which is all drama. You got Black Mirror Season 5, I believe. The Handmaid's Tale on Season 3 on Hulu. And then Sunday's gonna be lit. You got the season finale of Billions, the premiere of Big Little Lies on HBO, and I also just personally got the new Captain Marvel on Blu-ray. My wife hasn't seen it, so we're going to watch it again. And ABC just sent me 4 episodes of Grand Hotel. But hey, before I get to Marquis Rodriguez, it's time to give you our weekly pop culture news recap in a segment I like to call Jacked In. Let's begin with the top movie news of the week. Cinderella, starring Camila Cabello, will open February 5th, 2021. Aladdin soars past $500 million at the global box office. Thousands of Marvel fans signed petition to bring back Tony Stark. Comedian Ricky Velez has joined Judd Apatow and Pete Davidson's new summer comedy. And Slam Dance Miami will give rise to new Latino filmmakers. In TV news, Comedy Central to roast Alec Baldwin. Fox's Empire will not include Jussie Smollett for its final season. There's a Punky Brewster TV sequel in the works. Netflix's Black Mirror Season 5 is out now, and Starz has extended the run of its show for Spanish Princess. In podcast news, the Obamas ink a deal with Spotify to produce and host podcasts. Apple has now added full-text search in its new podcast app. The podcast industry is expected to create $1 billion in annual revenue by 2021, and NBC's Dateline will be turned into a podcast. And in tech and social media news, Apple's iTunes is no more and has been broken up into 3 categories. Instagram is about to include more ads in your feed. Google's Stadia game service is officially coming in November. Robocalls can now get blocked by your phone carrier by default, and YouTube to remove thousands of videos pushing extreme views.
Something's happening to me. When I lose control, bad things happen. But it feels good.
What you're about to hear next is a segment I like to call First Reaction. It's an immediate reaction to a film as the end credits are still rolling. I feel a first reaction is the purest form of obtaining a judgment on something you just experienced. So without any further delays, here is our first reaction to X-Men's Dark Phoenix. Hey, it's Jack Rico, and here's Mike Sargent. We are here at the AMC Lincoln Square. Just finished watching Dark Phoenix, the latest X-Men venture from Fox.
The last venture from Fox.
That's right, because now it's being acquired by Disney. I mean, was this the best way to go, or was this a regrettable mistake by Fox putting out this movie?
I wouldn't say this is a regrettable mistake, because to put it in context, the X-Men had a pretty good run. The first 2 films are great, third film, piece of crap. But then they rebooted the whole thing. X-Men Days of Future Past was pretty great. Okay, X-Men First Class was okay. Days of Future Past was great. The last one, what was that called?
It's the one with Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Oh my God, that was one of the worst ones.
That was when you finally, like, superhero movies, the way you always imagined they'd be, where, like, you feel it's a bunch of people, actors walking around playing dress up. That was the last X-Men movie.
That's what it looked like.
That's what it felt like. So it was a stupid
Like you
film.
went, the costumes were so bad. It's like you would walk into a Halloween store
Exactly.
and kind of just buy a couple of costumes.
And a pop-up Halloween store.
So what do we think of Dark Phoenix?
Well,
where does it rank amongst the good ones, or was this just a bad movie? Like, what were your thoughts on the film?
All right, my thoughts on the film are this. I thought it was okay. I think it has a few things going against it. One, we've already seen the story told before. So it's sort of like when the new Star Trek reboot had, Kirk die instead of Spock dying, or whatever. Okay, so at the same time, I thought, I don't like all these actors as the characters, especially Phoenix and Cyclops, who are central to the story. I really didn't feel their connection. I know it's written in the script, so I didn't care as much about them as I did in the original series. So going in, it has that going against it. I thought this was okay. It kind of went for the Chris Nolan ending as opposed to the end game ending, where, like, all superheroes go off into the sunset by sitting in a cafe in Europe. Okay, right. That's what happened. So I think that part I enjoyed. So it's not terrible. It's not as bad as the last one. It's not a terrible way to go. It's just okay.
I thought that this movie had a lot of great entertainment value. It understood exactly how to set up a great action sequence.
Definitely.
I thought that the CGI was pretty good. I thought that the setups were pretty good. It never disappointed in terms of the sci-fi action, in terms of the storyline might not have been original, but it was good comfort food. And I thought that compared to the last X-Men, this was so much better. And so no comparison. So I thought that this one in particular is a good watch in terms of paying your money and getting your reward, getting your kicks, a bang for your buck. So in terms of that, I thought Dark Phoenix actually accomplished a good night out at the movies.
I agree. And what's interesting is here, as we're moving into the quote-unquote post-Me Too era, they really focused in on Phoenix's origin here and, like, how she came to be part of Xavier's special school. And that was really a smart move because you're supposed to care about her. I really don't know that this actress really, for me, has the presence she needs.
Sophie Turner.
I don't know if Sophie Turner really has it.
I'm thinking about the singer, Sophie Tucker.
I don't know if Sophie Turner really has it for me. She's okay, but it's been such an ensemble piece for her to all of a sudden take center stage. She needs a little more oomph.
That's right.
Does that make any sense?
Hey, it's Jack Rico and Mike Sargent. We're here giving you our first reaction of Dark Phoenix before they kick us out, because they already got the ushers in here. Lights are on. We're about to head on out, but incredible. Sophie Turner, Queen of the North in Game of Thrones, and now one of the most powerful beings in the universe. She's one of the hottest actresses. Interestingly enough,
Such an interesting role for her.
Jennifer Lawrence was here. Now, she's an A-list star, but in these X-Men movies, she's like an afterthought. Something happens to her in this film, and I kind of just wanted to understand from your part, Jennifer Lawrence in this particular movie just was a bit disappointing.
Well, in a way, it's sort of...
She was a flash in the pan in here, man. I just feel like there was no need to have her. This felt artificial, felt contractual, almost transactional.
Definitely felt contractual. It's like she was contracted to be in here, and she's kind of what ties the old X-Men and the new X-Men together, really. So she's really that unifying force. She's sort of like Leonard Nimoy in the new reboots, just to bring Star Trek in again. So I thought she was okay there, but you're right. She didn't really have much to do, and... if superheroes were not the genre du jour,
right,
she probably would have said no.
Absolutely. And then probably one of the best parts of the film was Michael Fassbender as Magneto, who returns. And Man, this guy, I could watch a whole movie on Magneto, a trilogy, a whole franchise of Magneto. And I think they should probably just give him his own movie.
Listen, Michael Fassbender has a lot of screen presence. They don't bring him into like halfway through the second act, and you're like, "Oh, that's right, Magneto."
But why don't we? Why isn't there a Magneto spinoff? Just him alone.
Because they weren't that creative.
Well, overall, we think that Dark Phoenix. Well, I enjoyed Dark Phoenix. I know it has its problems.
I did too.
A gentleman that was next to me told me that the dialogue was a bit clunky. But, here we go again. Critics, it's nitpicking to the point of not understanding, of just being critical and not understanding the movie-going experience for the regular casual moviegoer. Like, he's talking like a critic as opposed to a moviegoer. Moviegoer is like, I understood the dialogue. I know exactly what this movie is, and I enjoyed what it offered, which was me escaping for 2 hours, being sucked into this. And so I thought it did a good job with that, Mike.
For 2 hours, I believe that actor on screen was the president, not Trump. So that was good.
And with that said, that was Dark Phoenix. This is First Reaction, and we'll catch you on the next one.
And before I talk to Marquis Rodriguez, here are 3 tracks you might want to add to your playlist this weekend.
Ooh, you can meet me on my laptop. Hey. Ooh, you can meet me on my laptop.
Love Through the Computer, Gucci Mane featuring Justin Bieber.
That's that computer love.
Que Bueno, Noah Signs.
I feel good going up and all around.
Enjoy Yourself, Charles Goose.
I won't let you hold me down. I feel good going up and all around.
Marquis Rodriguez. He's just 21 years old. He's an actor born in Brooklyn, New York, from a Puerto Rican mother, and he's already accomplished more than most 21-year-olds. He played Daryl in Marvel's Netflix series Luke Cage. He appeared with Ryan Reynolds in the film Definitely Maybe, has been cast in HBO's highly anticipated Game of Thrones prequel, and is currently starring in Netflix's When They See Us from Ava DuVernay. He plays Raymond Santana, one of the kids jailed for a crime they didn't commit.
What's going on with my son?
Your son was involved in a rape in Central Park.
Wait a second.
Marquis Rodriguez plays Raymond Santana in the new Netflix miniseries When They See Us from director Ava DuVernay. He joins me now, and as I understand it, you're filming a TV show right now, huh?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say.
Well, from what we know from the press, you're at the set of the HBO prequel of Game of Thrones, which we will talk about. But for now, I really wanted to ask you, you're now a part of this new controversial, very topical, very contemporary show called When They See Us from director Ava DuVernay, which has already come out on Netflix. And it's stirred up a lot of people. These are one of the shows. This is when you understand the power of television. But before we talk about that, I wanted to kind of find out when you first heard about the Central Park 5 story.
Yeah. So I've known about their story for a long time now. I'm born and raised in New York. I grew up in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. So, I think it was my mom sort of told me about the story when I was really young. I think it was important to her it was important to her then. It's important to her now that I am aware of stories like this. I think that at least in her eyes, it was in an effort to sort of keep me safe, to make sure that I was aware of these sorts of gross miscarriages of justice. And I think that, and I agree with her. I think you have to know these things about your city and about your country, about your state, to keep yourself safe. You have to actively arm yourself against these sorts of injustices.
Now, did you ever, at any point when you got the gig, did you ever meet Raymond Santana, and what was that like for you? The
first time I met Raymond was at the table read for episode 1. I believe we just the first episode.
Wow, were you freaking out, man? Was that like very tense to kind of be like, I'm in front of the guy who I'm playing?
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. I mean, that was the very first time I'd ever read the full script out loud, and I was sitting directly next to Raymond Santana. So it was really heavy, but I think it was important that that's how I started this process, because it immediately sort of informed the rest of what the project would be for me, which is this, immense responsibility to tell the story and tell it well and tell it true. And Raymond was incredibly helpful. He was incredibly generous and willing to share with me and to make sure, that I was able to do well.
Did you at any moment feel anxiety, tension, stress, the burden of having to be on the money with your performance for this show? Mm-hmm. And how did you deal with all of that?
I think it never manifested as anxiety. It is a burden. It's a burden to be telling someone's story and to be telling the truth about their story for one of the first times, at least. And to have it, it meant a lot to these 5 men. So it was a burden to get it right. But I think that, Ava created such an incredible environment on set, and it was such an environment of kindness and love and light. And I felt incredibly supported. If I ever came to Ava feeling insecure, I mean, I remember specifically once I sort of was feeling insecure about a take we had gotten, and we stopped and moved on. And I asked Ava, if that was okay. And she said, I wouldn't have moved on if I didn't feel like that was your best work. I would have kept going until I got the best from you. And that is so incredibly important to me, that moment. To know that I was being taken care of in that way was, invaluable. So I think that, yes, it was a burden, and yes, it was hard work, but it was made so much easier. The burden was made so much lighter by the amazing people that I was surrounded by every single day.
What did you learn from this experience as a person?
I think I learned how important it is. It's 2019. We have immediate access to so much information. And I think I just got thinking a lot about how important it is to actively arm yourself against injustice. I've said it before, but we have to seek out the knowledge that will, especially people of color, that will keep us safe. I think about, how this story would have been different if these young boys, knew their rights, if they were allowed access to that knowledge, if they knew what these people were doing was just, all of it was wrong from top to bottom. All of it was illegal. So I think that's something that I've known for a while, but something that was really reinforced in me with this project. It's just the importance of that.
What's going on? I mean, nobody told me nothing.
I got it.
I was finished for what? What's going on here?
Don't worry about it.
Está bien. ¿Qué hiciste, papito? ¿Qué hiciste?
Okay, so Antoine held her down while Kevin was raping her, right?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Pop, stop.
What are you talking about, rape?
Pop.
Your son was witness to a rape in Central Park.
You work with John Leguizamo in this film, in this series, and John's being very picky about what he's choosing to be in as of these days. I understand he's also directing. So he's a veteran. He's a fellow Puerto Rican, New Yorker. You're from Brooklyn. He's from Queens, absolutely. From Jackson Heights. What was it working with him, and what did you learn as an actor from working with John Leguizamo?
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible working with him. I mean, the fact that he's a veteran sort of made itself evident, not only in his acting, but also in his approach to prep for the role. So I had the amazing opportunity to get dinner with John and with Raymond and with Raymond's father and Freddie Miyares. And, what would have sort of been a sort of halting conversation because I wouldn't have known what I was allowed to ask or what was, what might be seen as, impolite to ask. I was sitting at dinner with this absolute, veteran of my industry who knew exactly the right questions to ask, whose questions that he asked informed my acting. So that was an amazing opportunity, but also just, I got to work with him as a scene partner, and it was a really unique experience. He's really, really good at giving, or rather, he was really, really good at giving me as an actor what I needed to get where I needed to be.
What did you need, Marquis?
That's a tough question. I think I needed, he just does things with his eyes. He's just so present in a scene. And it's really easy to sort of grasp the reality of the scene when your scene partner is like that. So it's hard to speak on how incredible he is, because it was sort of all unbelievable working with him. But it was an absolute gift, really.
When did you get into acting?
Yeah, I started I started professionally when I was about 9, I think.
What inspired you to get into acting? Was it your mom and dad that said, hey, you should act? Or was it your friends? Was it a counselor? Or was it just you?
Yeah, it was just a weird sort of impulse I had when I was really young. I would watch movies and television and take on all of this, like, take in all of, even cartoons and things like that. And I would just know that there was a human being behind it. I knew that there was a decision that someone made to tell this story. It felt like obvious to me that this was like a person playing a character. And so at a really young age, I was really interested in what that was like. It all looked like, I had the most access to draw an equation between that and playing pretend, which was, my favorite thing at that age. So I just brought that sort of up with my mom, and I asked her if there was anything I could do. And my mom's an absolute genius, and she's a warrior, and she made it happen for me.
That's awesome, man. As an actor of color, what's your journey been like through Hollywood so far?
I've been incredibly lucky. One of my first jobs was The Lion King. I did the national tour for almost 2 years when I was younger, and every single day for almost 2 years, I was watching people that looked like me do absolutely phenomenal things every single night, 8 shows a week.
That's awesome.
That was an incredibly empowering. Yeah. I mean, it was an incredibly empowering experience as an artist of color, as an actor of color, to see all of the adults in my life at that point, basically, were doing amazing, beautiful things, and they were doing all the sorts of things that I wanted to be doing when I was their age. So I actually got incredibly lucky to have that experience and to sort of be reinforced in that way.
It's interesting. Once I heard that, I believe you were like the second actor that got cast in the prequel to Game of Thrones. And I think the first reaction in my head was, wow, they got a Latino brother in Game of Thrones? That's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Wait a minute, that doesn't fit right. And it started to make me think about the way television content and film content has changed in terms of the way we see things. Since you've begun acting, what changes have you seen about actors of color or filmmakers of color that has become much more acceptable, I would say?
One of the biggest, one of the things that has upset me the most about, film and television in the past, especially, we can just take like things that are set in New York, for example. It's not realistic to have something set in New York and to have none of the principal characters people of color. That's not the New York that I have never seen that New York. So I think the difference now is that we're actually telling stories that actually reflect the reality of just places and actually reflect the reality of the sorts of people that we see in our lives every single day. And not some sort of distorted idea of what a place could be or what, specifically New York looks like. So I think for me, that's one of the biggest changes is that we're actually telling sort of well-rounded stories in that way.
Where do you ultimately want to go with your acting?
That's a big question. It's just really important to me to be able to tell the sorts of stories that mean something to me. And I think that it's one thing to tell a good story. It's one thing to tell the right story. It's an entirely other thing to tell it well, and to work with people that are able to help you along that way. So at the moment, I'm just interested in continuing working with people like Ava DuVernay, who are sort of unflinchingly telling the truth and who are unflinchingly leading the charge into telling stories like when they see us.
Well, before I let you go, I know you can't talk about Game of Thrones in any way, but I did want to ask you a personal question. When you found out that you were cast in the show, and because of the impact that that show has had globally as part of culture, society, and basically everything else, how did you celebrate the moment? Did you go out with friends? Did you tell your friends? What did mom and dad say? How did you rejoice in this? Was it a surreal moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredibly surreal moment. There couldn't be much celebrating because I couldn't tell anyone when I found out. But,
so you didn't share this with your friends or anything like that?
No. I mean, I told my mom, but that was it. But I think that was sort of enough for me because she's been with me every single step of the way of this journey for me. So sharing things with that's my first impulse anyway, sharing things with her. And that was like kind of all the celebration I needed, honestly, just to see the look on her face and to know that she had that bit of information. But yeah, no, I'm just incredibly honored and incredibly excited.
That's awesome, Marquis. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, talking a little bit about When They See Us, about your acting career.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I wish you the best of luck. I mean, you've been hitting some major shows, man. Like you're a part of the Marvel family. You're now part of the HBO family. You're hanging out with Ava DuVernay. You're young. Don't squander this in any way, man. We want you to, especially because you're a fellow Latino brother who we're all trying to get to be, all of us trying to see more people of color on the screen, but specifically more Latino representation, since there's barely any. And the fact that you're one of those young guns making it, you're quickly becoming a role model for all of us. So thanks again, and keep with it, man.
Thank you so much for having me, seriously.
And that's it for episode 118 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I want to thank Marquis Rodriguez and Mike Sargent for coming on the show. And if you'd like to support the show, please spread the love on social media and tell all your friends about it. You can reach me on Instagram at Jack Rico and my Facebook page at Jack Rico 40. Remember, it's only through your support that our show can grow. I'm Jack Rico. See you next week on another episode of Highly Relevant.
Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.